Hey guys, I'm Jennifer and I'm joined with
Corey.
And we are the host of the Dr. Marketing Tips podcast. But today we thought we would do a little Facebook Live video. We preach Facebook Live all the time on the podcast and to our clients, but we've never actually done it. So today, Corey and I grabbed an article that we got from Google this week. The Google sends out an email on thought leadership in the industry. And this week they're discussing technology and how technology and today's technology tools are actually affecting the task of storytelling, which is something we talk a lot about with our marketing group clients and also on the Dr. Marketing Tips podcast.
Yeah, storytelling is one of the best ways that you can differentiate your practice from a competitor down the street. And so this article, it's actually from a panel at a South by Southwest conference.
Something I've been wanting to go to for years, so we're going to put it on the checklist for next year.
It's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to read a couple of quotes here, and then we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
So the first one is from his name's Sebastian Tomek, and he's the SVP of Advertising and Innovation at the New York Times. And he says, quote, "You can't just use technology for technology's sake. For us on the news side, there has to be a consumer need. For instance, we launched a partnership with Samsung to do the Daily 360, where it will feature 360-degree video journalism every day. And that has the most natural partnership we've ever done. It was tech by Samsung and journalism by the New York Times."
So I've seen some of the 360 journalism that they've done with Samsung, especially on some hard-hitting issues that are worldwide and especially international issues. But bringing it back down to a level of a practice, what would be, if you could think of one example of a practice and how they could use 360, there's all kinds of different technologies, but because we're talking about 360, how could a practice use 360 technology in their storytelling?
Well, I think one of the things that we've come across with a couple of different practices actually is parking issues. So if you have a practice that's located within somewhere that's kind of hard to find, or it's in a larger building, it makes sense to maybe do some 360 video on how to get to your office from the parking garage.
Or I'm thinking of one in particular. So we have this practice that we work with, and they're swamped. They own the building, and a pediatric group has moved in. And when they originally moved into the building, the pediatric group was 2 doctors. Now they're 8 doctors. Yeah. And then for pediatrician's office, sometimes it's not just mom bringing the child. It's mom and dad comes off his lunch break and meets the child and mom, and they go into the office together. So we're at this place, and Corey and I had a meeting. It was at noon, and we get there a little bit early, and we go to park, and there's nowhere to park, and we literally had to go off-site and park off-site. Then we had to move the car because it was going to be towed. Then we witnessed a legit near fist fight in the parking lot between a woman who's at least 80 and a guy who was probably
40s, I would
40s.
say.
And then we listened to him complain all the way up the elevator, and a 360 video would have gone a long way.
I think so. And 360 video, maybe that's a lot to bite off for some of you guys that are watching or listening to this, but it doesn't have to be a 360 video to be effective. I mean, that same scenario could be done, just using a regular video. I think that's a great case to use just the video medium to get your message out there and be really useful for patients.
We had a doctor this last Bring Your Child to Work Day who took it upon himself to do a quick video of his daughter sitting in an exam chair. He's an ophthalmologist, asking her questions about ophthalmology, quizzing her on definitions. And then, did he do it live or did he do it recorded?
He did it live. Yeah.
Did it live, and this thing just blew up because it was innovative, it was current, it was kind of somewhat like a news cycle, and his patients just ate it up, and it's paying dividends today. So sometimes you just have to think about what opportunities do you have, and then how can you take some really cool technology like the 360 and take it out there and take advantage of it. And you know what? It's okay to put something out there and it's not perfect yet, especially on social media, because that's what people like. That's the difference between active and passive involvement.
Definitely. And I think 2 things. One, that was the cutest video I've ever seen.
Oh my God, it was the best.
Awesome. And 2, I think another way that you can use the video is, and we see this all the time with practice photo tours. That's a perfect opportunity to do a 360 video of your main lobby, of an exam room, of an OR.
Of a surgery center.
Of a surgery
This
center,
is
right.
where you drop your patient off at 5:30 in the morning. This is where they come up. This is where you get prepped. This is where you're going to sit. Don't worry if you have to sit there for 3 hours, because here's the Wi-Fi password. Here's the bathrooms. Here's everything that's going on.
Yeah, and you can definitely use those when you're doing any sort of like Google Maps. It also accepts those kinds of videos, so you can use those in addition to not only on your website and social media, but you can put it on Google Maps so that it shows up in search a little bit better.
Yeah, great ideas, Corey.
Yeah, I try. All right, so the next one is from Myra Nussbaum, and she's the SVP and Group Creative Director for DDB Worldwide. She says, it's never been easier to make cool stuff, but it's never been harder to get the word out about it. Mm-hmm. And we saw that with Lockheed Martin's Field Trip to Mars, which was a video that Lockheed did. She says...
Wasn't it featuring virtual reality?
It was, yeah.
Super cool.
She said that was a cool use of VR, and it garnered billions of impressions. So it's not just about creating content people have to seek out and find, but about making content that creates headlines.
Oh, okay. So here's an example of the one that we had a client do recently. And so essentially for Corey and I, we do marketing for independent physicians. So part of what we do is to build relationships with those physicians. So we have a group of orthopedic folks that are getting more and more into stem cell and technologies related to stem cell, and we have their main office, and right next to their main office is their surgery center. So one of the doctors sent us a quick text message, says, hey, I've got something great, let's put it on Facebook. We just did the first stem cell transplant using an umbilical cord, is that right?
Yes.
Something along those lines, which has got two things. One, it's really cool, and we got a photo of the doc and his assistant and everybody just coming out of the OR in their scrubs, so that we knew was gonna be a home run. And two is they were doing the first procedure ever done in the Central Florida area, which is a large media market. And we knew if we could get this thing on Facebook that it would just blow up. And it blew up. It literally blew up. And it wasn't a video, it wasn't some crazy technology, but we were talking about a technological breakthrough that was happening. It was relevant, it was immediate. The doctors had it on their radar screen that we needed information from them, and they made sure to get it to us, and we were able to take advantage of social media and the technologies available to us to get the word out. You can't pay for that kind of PR, and the public relations industry and the news cycles have changed so much that we're in control of our own PR for our practices. I know your doctors still want you to get their photo or something in the newspaper, but only so many people read the newspaper at this point. If you want something to happen, you put it on Facebook, or you put it where your audience is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think her quote makes so much sense for what we deal with every single day. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. Like, it's awesome to make cool stuff. We're making this video. We're probably going to turn it into a podcast.
We think it's pretty cool, but we don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you tell us. But yeah, so with all the social media channels out there and how easy it is to update and change website content and how dynamic those things can be, it's really easy to make cool stuff. I agree with that 100%. But it's never been harder to get the word out about it, is the second part of her quote. And that's true too, because there's so much competing for our attention that it's just hard to kind of break through that clutter. And so we're big fans of, obviously, if we have an example like what you were just talking about, that's going to do really well on its own. That's going to do really well organically. And some of the stuff that we do, we are big believers in it. We know that it's really good content. And it just needs a little bit of a boost to get out in front of people, because it is so hard to get the word out about it. And that's where it makes sense to have an advertising budget, just like you have an advertising budget on your print media or a radio buy. It makes sense to have an advertising budget on social media so that you can get the word out about some of the cool stuff that you're doing and help control your message.
Yeah, nothing drives us bonkers more than when we spend, potentially a week's worth of time and effort putting together some really cool stuff for a client, and they don't want to spend $10 or $100 to get the eyeballs on it, because there's so much, like Corey was saying, we're competing against so many distractions in the world, and we're only as good as what that next distraction is. And so if you can put a couple dollars into every single thing you put on social media, it will pay dividends over and over. And I would say this, we have, however many clients that we work with, and I would say 90% of them have a social media advertising budget now. Not just advertising as in ads and AdWords, but advertising as in boosting and trying to encourage engagement and click-throughs and things of that nature, and really pushing reach. They have all really adopted this advertising budget, and every one of them has kept the budget, at least from the initial adoption at the rate that they were at, or has grown it exponentially because they see the results and you can track them. You know, in TV, in print, in radio, it's really tough to quantify if your spend is worth it, especially in medical. Did you get more surgeries? Did you get more patients? Were those patients as a result of your TV ad that you spent $50,000 on, or were they a result of something completely different? If you're only doing advertising online, you can track every single dollar and you can kind of jive and flow and move and juke and whatever it is in order, you know, to accommodate for maybe some competition in the marketplace, a news story that comes out, or whatever your great idea is. So I really think if we can drive something home, is create really cool stuff and compelling stuff. That's first and foremost when it comes to storytelling. But then put a couple dollars behind it. Stop being so cheap. If you can afford to go out and get coffee or pick up bagels to take around and deliver to the offices and call it referral marketing, then you can afford to take a couple $100 a month and put it towards social media and really get a bang for your buck.
Definitely. And the great thing about doing that on social media as well is you get to control your budget, I mean, by the second. So if something's not working or you need to change your budget, you just do it instantly. You don't have to make a dozen phone calls and hope that, you know, the TV station is going to be able to stop running your ads, or you already signed that contract, so hey, sorry, you're out of luck. With social, you just click a button. And
we had a client yesterday who is spending something like $10,000 on LinkedIn over the next couple of weeks, and I don't know how she got sold on this. Somebody picked up the phone and called her, and they sold her, and she bought into it, and it will probably work for her because of her type of of the industry she's in. But we knew that there was about $1,000 getting ready to be spent, and I saw email after message left to her saying, hey, we need you to make a decision, and she didn't make the decision, and then it was time to turn it on, and she flipped out, and she sent us all these emails in there in all caps: don't turn it on, make it stop, pause, and all it took was Corey, boop, boop, boop.
Okay, no problem.
That's how easy social media is.
Yeah, and the other good thing about it, the other point I wanted to make was when you do boost on social media, you get to control the audience too, which is great. So when you do something like a billboard or print or radio, TV, that traditional kind of advertising, you know, you're just kind of blasting it out everywhere. When you do it on social media, you can say, well, I want to reach the 35 to 49-year-old females married with kids in a household income that makes this much money, and they're the only people that are going to see that post. So you know that every dollar that you spend is going towards the exact person that you want to see it.
Absolutely.
So, all right, last quote. This is from Jess Greenwood. She's the VP of Content and Partnerships for RGA.
Okay.
And she says, there's a difference in passive attention versus active attention. So passive is scrolling by something in a feed, and you can high five with every impression you get, but that's not the whole story. The most successful campaigns create active attention, which is way harder to get because we're competing with news media, entertainment, and everything else that's on the internet that day. So essentially, what I take away from that is that passive attention is someone just, they see it, they scroll by it, whatever. That counts as an impression. They will count that. But when you get active attention, that's when someone's actually like engaging with your content. So that's, at the very minimum, that's a like on Facebook, that's a comment, it's a heart, it's a share. We see all the time with stuff that we create where people will comment on, let's say we'll do like a getting to know you video on a doctor, and it's just kind of introducing you to who that is. And then down in the comments, someone will say, oh, that doctor did my surgery, he's amazing, I love him, and then tag like 2 friends in it. And maybe those 2 friends are looking for a doctor.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
Yeah, and that's the opportunity for them to reach out and say, look how great my doctor is. Don't you want to see this? And then tag family members and friends. And that's how you know that you've got that active attention, because they are taking part of, they're taking time out of their day to reach out and then do something with this rather than just scroll by and go, that's cool, whatever, I don't care.
Well, and we have this one doctor who's really attractive, and you'll see, he's really good on camera too, but he's really attractive. You don't realize how attractive he is until he's on camera. And if you want to send me a quick email, I'll include my email in the show notes. If we do show notes, I'll send you a link to his video, and you'll correspond, corroborate my statement here. But the fact is, people notice it, and these ladies and some gents will get on Facebook and be like, holla, I'll go see him, I'm making an appointment with him.
Yeah.
And he's so down to earth, but it just makes such a difference. And I think that being genuine is how you create active attention.
Yeah.
It's the difference between passive and active. One thing we're doing now, so when we set up our social media posts, we have tons and tons of evergreen content. This is stuff that we can put on autopilot, and we know it's going to post for our clients every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. It's going to pull from certain categories, and it's going to say, all right, on Mondays we're going to send out Motivational Monday. On Wednesdays we're going to talk about a procedure within a particular subspecialty, and on Fridays we're going to do patient testimonials. And we know that no matter what, we could leave for Memorial Day, because we're recording this right before Memorial Day. We can leave for Memorial Day, come back in a week, and this stuff's still going to work. But that's not the stuff that creates active attention. What creates the most active user experience is when we put things like, we did an amazing job today in a surgery center, and we did the first umbilical cord stem cell transfer in Central Florida. We know that's going to kill it. We know that the video of a doctor talking with his daughter and quizzing her on terms for ophthalmology, we know it's going to kill it, and it's going to create active engagement. We've got one now, I think you might have heard if you listen to our podcast, Danielle's been on quite a few times, and Danielle actually does all of our social media and all of our reputation management for all of our clients across the board. And she also manages kind of these, your local publications do like best doctor or best orthopedic sports doctor or best this or best that. She goes out to the different publications and finds out when they're running their contest. Then she creates social media posts specific to vote for Dr. So-and-so as best internal family medicine doctor. And then she puts $20 behind that post, gets all of the fans of that doctor engaged in that activity, gets them voting, which is very active because they're having to click on something and then go participate in a survey. And then the best part is the doctors always win. And then they get this little badge that we can put on their website, and then they can put in all their marketing materials.
4 years running.
4 years running, best doctor of whatever.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps giving.
It really is. And like you said, so people have to go out and they have to take that extra step, go and vote and fill out this whole thing. But then they come back and say, just voted, like, share, comment, everything. So we kind of like check all the boxes with this one activity.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Awesome. It's good stuff. I think we should have been on that panel.
I mean,
we could have our own panel, bring it. We are on a panel, really, it's two of us.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Bring it home.
All right, so this article closes out with a quote I wanted to mention. It says, as consumer attention grows even scarcer, creatives and brands will be tempted to latch on to shiny new storytelling tools like Facebook Live. Right? But technology alone can't be asked to deliver a memorable story. And then it goes back into another quote. It says, quote, I love technology, but technology is no stand-in for great insight. Great creative transcends everything, no matter the technology. So the takeaway for that to me is make cool stuff. And you can use technology to get it out there, and then you can boost it and you can try and make it active. But the key is to make cool stuff, and then you're on the right path.
And you know what I think the best part is? Practice managers, if you're watching this, you kind of get it, and you're like, I am so busy, I can't do all this kind of stuff. But if you're a physician and you're watching this, you know what you do is as cool as it gets.
Yeah.
And you know what kind of cool stuff is out there. You just need people to help you bring the tools together.
Yeah, so they can see it.
Awesome. So before we wrap up, I'm going to tell you where we are right now. We are literally sitting in an exam room that is unused, and right behind us is a refrigerator and an exam table, and there's a window over here, and we just have a blank wall. And what this is our studio. So when we have patients come in, we invite patients into the practice. We bring them right in through the front door. Corey escorts them. We get them seated. We have a little set that we set up, and this is where we film patient testimonials many times. It is that easy. All you have to do is look for an empty exam room or find an exam room, if you're doing patient testimonials, and block it out. But your exam rooms make great studios. And if you have one that's empty for a while, you can just keep building and building and building and finding opportunities to use technology to improve the quality of the videos that you're producing. So with that, I'm Jennifer.
I'm still Corey.
And we are the hosts of the Doctor Marketing Tips podcast. We might do this every week. We might not do this every week. But if you need us, you can find us at insightmg.com. And we'll see you next time.
Oh, and be sure to check Twitter, too. We're on there at Dr. Marketing Tips. If you have any questions or anything like that, we'd be happy to help on Twitter.
Awesome. Thanks so much.